Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube of the Truth Community. My name is Ira Bowman. As many of you know, I'm excited to have you here. I'm joined with some people that you might not know, but have some of my good friends like Bob Feathers in the audience and Ken Dunner in the audience. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's Texas and Boston, Massachusetts representing. We've got things that you believe. Yeah, things that you believe are not necessarily truth, but they can be your truth in a sense. Some things it's hard to be dogmatic on. Some things it's just a fact, right? And facts can change over time. The earth isn't flat, it's round, right? So, anyways, we are here to discuss the truth as best we can. Who are we? I'll tell you what, guys, let's do this. Let's take 60 seconds each and just introduce ourselves for the crowd who may or may not know who we are. We've currently got 19 people watching us from LinkedIn. I haven't been able to check the YouTube crowd and the Facebook crowd yet, but we will keep putting your comments up in the show. So keep your comments coming. And if you have a question for the show while we're doing introductions, go ahead and put them in the comments. And a little bit, we'll show you a website that you can post, because if you missed the live show and you want to get your question on for the next show, we have a way for you to do that at any time on our website, which is at Truth Community. We'll share that in just a moment. So, Brian, this is your brainchild. Let's let you introduce yourself first, and then Will, you are on my screen to the right of Brian, and then Nicole, you are going to be after Will, and then Adam, we like to save the best for last. And then we might have a few other people who join us too. The Truth Community has quite a few people in it. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll do that 60 seconds. Just where you're from, what you do, and why you are here, please. Oh, and Brian, I have you muted. There, you're not muted anymore.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ira. This is awesome to be able to share with you guys. The Truth Community was just a brainstorm idea I had as a business coach. I help people who are trying to take a business concept and turn it into cash flow. And so that's one of the things I do at Next Step Mindset. But the Truth Community was something that I kept running into people having a problem pitching or growing their business. They were having a hard time finding clients. And so I thought, instead of each of us as a business owner or an entrepreneur building our own community, and then we try to provide enough value and try to pitch everybody, why don't we all build a community together? Why don't we all share value? And then instead of pitching, we all share and refer each other, which referrals work better than pitches anyways. So that's just kind of the nutshell of what the Truth Community is. So if you are an expert or a professional in your field, we would love to have you join us in the Truth Community, which is a Facebook community. So absolutely would love to have you guys join us over there. And with that, back to you, Ira, or I guess I should pass it to Will.
Actually, one follow-up question, because you were introducing the Truth Community, but what is it that you do specifically?
I am a business and relationship coach.
There we go. I just want people to know what you
I'm
what
just
you
a
do.
business and relationship coach.
Yeah, it'll probably become more obvious as you answer these questions, but I want to give everybody an idea of who's on.
I do a lot of business and relationship coaching with the Next Step Mindset angle at it, of understanding that it's easy to do almost anything, like run a marathon, if you just take it one step at a time. But if you never even take the first step, you're probably not going to go much of anywhere. So with that, I'll pass it over to Will.
True. Will, all right, please, 60-second intro, who you are, what you do.
Absolutely. While I'm picking up that mic, it's still hot, so I might fumble a little bit, but I'm gonna do my best to hold on to that mic. What's going on, everybody? And I am known as the Will Baptist. I am the will to rise. I am the man that's out here to normalize men needing emotional support. I'm a podcast host, a will to rise. I'm a men's mental health coach with a purpose to reduce the suicide rate of men by 25% by 2025. And I know it's a reach, and I know it's something that we have never heard of. But if somebody don't take the first step into wanting to do that, it will never happen. So I'm out here just really advocating for men, because 3 years ago, I wish there was some place, there was somebody, there was something that I could have done to get out of the darkness that I was. But thankfully, I got out of it. It's behind me now. I'm looking forward. And now I want to help reach back and bring other men to let them know that they are not alone, that they don't have to suffer in silence. There is hope, there is help. You just got to hold on to your faith and be around men like a truth community to lift you up, to motivate you, and to inspire you to be the best version of yourself, the best father, the best husband, the best friend. More importantly, having a healthy relationship with oneself, because we have to have a healthy relationship with ourselves in order to have a healthy relationship with others. So that's who I am, and that's what I do in a nutshell. So I
Wow.
will pass the mic to the beautiful Nicole Harvick.
Will, you're
Nicole,
so
I always
good.
want to be wherever that is behind you. That is like every time I see that photo, I just want to be there.
I love this photo. It calms me down. I'm across the street from the beach. I'm in South Carolina, so it's very fitting for me right now. Unfortunately, it's a little bit cold out there and windy today. I had no idea how cold South Carolina could get, but it is chilly. So I am Nicole Harvick. I'm known as the quantum energy healer and forgiveness expert. And the reason I talk about quantum is that is the premise of everything past, present, and future happening all around us at any time. And a lot of things I have to do when I'm looking to help people heal is we have to go back into their subconscious mind, which can be, it can be in utero, it can be as a very young child, and find those places where there's trauma and where there's past hurt. And just an example of one of the things that I've done with a client of mine, I helped a 55-year-old woman find the exact moment that she started feeling unworthy in her life. And she was 18 months old. She wanted to help her mother carry in the groceries. And because she was so small, her mother gave her a can of soup and she dropped it. And her mother called her stupid. And that stuck with her all her life. So that's what I do. I try to dive in, find out where you need help, find your traumas, pull them out, and let's get rid of them. And let's move forward with a really amazing path.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. And Adam, you are on mute, but we would love to hear from you, where you are and what you do, my friend.
I'm Adam Lattin, founder of Clearest View. I work with my clients by helping them have an accurate awareness of their internal and external circumstances. I've found that
Hang
too
on,
much
hang on
hope.
just a second. It's got some weird, like we're getting like 50% of it. I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Is this any better?
No, not really. Is
So-
everybody hearing it the same way I am?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sadly, maybe I should go out and come in and switch to my computer.
You want to try that?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You guys don't want to miss what Adam has to say. Every time this guy answers questions, I go, wow, he has got a lot of wisdom to share. So we just want to make sure while Adam is out and coming right back in, we actually had another one of our panelists who was having technical difficulties too. So maybe StreamYard is just having some issues. I use StreamYard to broadcast these, but I'll introduce myself. My name is Ira Bowman. If you don't know me, I am the owner of Bowman Digital Media. What do? I'm a SEO. I'm a social media. I'm a digital marketing professional. That's basically what I do. I have 8 kids. Some people are fascinated by that. I'm a professional photographer and videographer. I'm actually doing, I just booked a gig for Friday where I'm doing a video for Lee Steinbrenner, the sports agent. That is the
Nice.
character that they created the movie Jerry Maguire from, right? Show me the money. Anyways, I'm excited by that. So Adam's still not here. Let's do this. If this is your first time seeing the Truth Community, which I imagine it is going to be for most of you in the crowd, and totally understand that. Yeah, it was definitely choppy, Bob, for sure. What do? We take questions and we answer them. Now, are we saying that our truth is the facts? No, that's kind of the point of the panel. We typically have an expert in, and that's why we went through the introductions, so you can kind of understand which place people are coming from. So a lot of times these questions, we read them and then we go, hey, Brian, or hey, Will, why don't you field this one? Because it looks like this is your area of expertise. Then after that, what we do is we go around and we give 30 seconds to the rest of the panel each, if they would like to respond. And then the person who started it usually will, have a conclusion of some sort. And then we move on to the next question. We're not saying that we're smarter than you. We're here available as a resource to you. if that makes sense. So we're not here to debate. Somebody in the comments getting a little sideways, and that's okay. Like if you want to go argue with people, we're not here for that. We're also, besides trying to just tell you the truth, we're also trying to be kind and gracious and empathetic. So that's the spirit behind what we should do this. We're not trying to say that we're know-it-alls. We're just trying to share our experience and our expertise in our fields. First question that I have, let's see, it is, how do you get over your biggest fear? That's the question. And I think actually the person who I'd love to answer that's not here. Let's do this. I've got a question that I think is perfect for Brian. So we'll start here. Brian, the question that I have in front of me says, if I can get in front of a potential client, how can I increase the sales into my business? So I might take that a couple different ways, but you're a business consultant. Let's see what you got. The question once again, as written, says, if I can get in front of a potential client, how can I increase the sales into my business? Brian,
that's actually a really good question. And it would kind of depend on what it is you're selling. Can you hear me? Okay, now you can hear me. All right. So that's actually a really good question. There's a lot of directions you could take that. I would want to dive in a little bit with whoever asked that. And it makes sense that you're probably struggling with the conversion and how to get them to actually see and understand what it is you're offering, or maybe the value to your offer. And so one of the things I have helped some business owners do is figure out how to reverse the sales. In a sense, you give them not really a pitch, but you share it as, okay, here's one of the ways I could potentially serve you or assist you with my business or with my product or whatever it is you're offering. And then instead of just asking them immediately to take it and buy it from you right then and there on the spot, what I often encourage them to do is to reverse that and say, what makes you feel like this would be the perfect solution for you? Ask the client now to explain back to you basically why they should be your client and why you should serve them. And so that reverses, instead of you trying to convince them, they're now trying to convince you that they're your perfect client. So sometimes that will work a wonder. You can often also do what a lot of sales coaches will call a takeaway. And that is where you will often say, this may not be right for you. So I don't know if it is or not. And to just take that, away from them, so to speak, in a sense, that's just an easy way to get them to say, no, I do want it, instead of feeling like you're trying to sell them something. Because a lot of people want to buy, they just don't want to feel sold. Just like a car salesman, you don't want to be convinced into something that you're not really sure if it's the right thing. So that's where I feel like asking questions, finding out what they're really looking for, dig a little deeper is often the biggest key to making a correct sale that's really going to make the person happy and feel accomplished in the fact that they actually purchased from you and they're getting what they are actually looking for to get them their desired result. So hopefully that helps, Ira.
Yeah, I think you answered it pretty well. Will, Nicole, Adam, would you like to take a stab at this? I put the question there on the screen to make it easier. If I can get in front of a potential client, how can I increase the sales into my business? Brian basically just said reverse engineer the process, which I think is smart.
I'd like to take a crack at that. In order for me to know that I'm in front of my potential client, I have to know who's my ideal client is. Because in my mind, I may think that I'm in front of a potential client, but is this client my ideal client? So once we can identify our mission, our vision, and ideal client, then all of a sudden, being in front of a potential client is easy. Now the question is, everybody wants the only way we're in the business because we want to solve a problem. Now that I have identified who my ideal client is, now let me identify the problem that they have. Because let's face it, we all have problems.
Yeah.
But the problem, some of the thing is, we don't even know that we have the problem. So if you don't know what your problem is, and I know you're my ideal client, now I'm going to dig a little bit deeper to pull out, not to create, but to pull out the problem that you didn't know that you have, and then now bringing the solution to you.
Yeah.
That's how I will bring it out.
Just remember, guys, point of order. We want to do 90-second answers for the first and then 30 seconds for the follow-up. So we got to try to keep it really concise. Nicole, did you have something you wanted to say on what Will and Brian have said here?
Yeah, I'll make this really, really quick. And for me, one of the things I'm looking for, obviously, is a pain center, a trauma, or something that has happened in the past that has really affected them. And you have to, for me, I have to be really sure that my client is ready to dig into that and face that, because if they're not ready to do that, it's going to do more harm than good. So I really sit and listen very closely to what my client says to me. And then if they're ready, then we proceed.
Yeah. And Bob Feathers has a suggestion for the group too. You need to solve the problem. I'm gonna get to that when it's my turn. I've got a hypothesis that might shock some people, but I'll tell you why I disagree with that in one sense, Bob. Anyways, you'll understand what I mean in just a second. Adam, would you like to take a stab at this?
Yeah, so for me, I think the most important thing is to really work on making sure the prospective person you're working with feels safe. Really making sure that you kind of like that's a foundational thing. And most people don't even realize that they should be making an effort to make that person feel safe and really help them in that sort of experience.
Yeah, interesting. I like what Nicole said and Brian said, and I'm going to combine them, and I'm going to go against a little bit what Bob said, although this should be the right answer. How many homeless people do you know that need medicine or need vegetables or need milk or whatever, right? Something healthy, but what do they buy instead? They buy the things that aren't healthy. They buy the things they want. So if you're listening to the client and you really hear what it is that they want, and then you can reverse engineer the solution and present it in a way that shows them how you're going to give them what they want, even if it isn't what they need, you're still more likely to get the sale. For example, I'm dealing with people every day who need SEO, but do they invest in it? No. Why? Because they don't want it. Even though I know it's the best thing for them. And realistic, most of them probably know after they're done talking to me, they need it, but they don't want it. They want to be social media influencers or famous or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, there's my 30 seconds. Brian, point of order. You started this thing, so we're going to let you wrap it up in 30 seconds, my friend.
Honestly, I think you nailed it pretty well. It's really about finding what they want and what they need in a sense. And like Bob keeps saying, he has some great points. People want to work with or buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So create a little rapport, make sure you understand them, what they're really looking for or what they desire, and then help them find that solution. So really, in a nutshell, that's all you're doing. They may not even need it, but then that's your goal, is to help them get it.
Yeah. I mean, part of this, I think, is going to depend on what type of relationship do you have with them already. And is this something that's like toothpaste? It's a consumable product. It's not very expensive, right? Or is it like $100,000 or 7-figure solution? And, you know, the buy cycle might be 18 months, a year, or whatever. You've got time to talk them into the right thing to convince them. So there's a lot of variables that could go into this for sure. Before we continue, Adam was having mic troubles when we're doing introductions. He's not anymore. I want to give Adam an opportunity. 60 seconds, my friend. Introduce yourself, what you do, where you're from, those kinds of things.
Hello, my name is Adam Latin. I am founder of The Clearest You. I work with clients primarily to help them have an accurate awareness of their circumstances, both internal and external, because I believe too much hope and too much fear actually work against people to really have a clear assessment of what's going on. I also am a bit of a contrarian, where some general knowledge and ideas actually work against us. So I really support people based on where they are, even if they go contrary to common thought processes. So that's me.
Yeah, being a contrarian can cause some issues sometimes, right? I mean, sometimes people don't know how to take that.
I don't know. I think that when something isn't working, having an answer that's opposite of what normally works for other people can really be good. because sadly, people are often shamed when they're not able to use a technique that everyone else around them can use. So for those people that need the support of reducing shame or any sort of negative energy, it can really be super beneficial to have different ways. I'm a really big believer that effort really is completely irrelevant. It's really about a different way or different methods. And that kind of goes against what we talk about in terms of more effort, doing more gives you better results.
There is a two-part question in here. I'm just looking at the questions in our panel. Thank you very much for that, by the way, Adam. I'm going to put it here in the comments. I think, Nicole, this is probably best for you. So let me get this up. And here we go. All right. For Nicole, 90 seconds. Why is forgiveness so important for the healing journey? Now, to be fair, they actually asked first, why is forgiveness misunderstood? So maybe we should do this in two parts. Well, let's do this one first. 90 seconds. Why is forgiveness so important to the healing or for the healing journey?
Okay, and I'm gonna speak to this from my own experience, because what I write about, talk about, speak about, everything is coming from how I perceived it on my healing journey. And very quickly, when I went through a divorce, I got very sick. I learned healing modalities. I went to counselors. I went to self-help groups. I went to divorce groups, and nothing was helping me. I just couldn't figure out why I was getting sick. I was stressed. I had, my heart would flutter, losing my hair, scratching till I bled. So I'm like, what is going on? Why is nothing helping me? And I just happened to see the word Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness practice. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you. Couldn't believe that would work because it was free. And I just thought, I've spent so much money. How can this work? But once I started really diving into that and repeating those very high vibrational words to myself every night in meditation, I just started having this calmness come over me and understanding that the forgiveness was really not for the person that did that to me. It's to rid myself of those deep, the hatred or the anxiety or any kind of negativity that I was carrying around in my body. And I realized that you don't even have to tell the person you forgave them. This is strictly for you. This is your journey. And to get rid of all that negativity, you can then replace it with something more positive.
I just realized I was on mute. Yeah, wonderful.
Should I keep going? Do I have 32 more seconds?
I love what you had to say. I want to open it up to the other panel. Now, you don't have to speak every time 30 seconds. It's only if you want to. So I'll open it up to the panel. Does anyone want to add on to why forgiveness is so important for the healing journey? Because I do have something I want to say, but I will, what am I going to say? Yeah. Let's see. I think I saw Brian's hand first and then Adam. It was close,
so
guys.
real quick, forgiveness is important because it's not to free the other person from any kind of reaping what they sowed, so to speak, but it's really to free yourself. And there's an old saying about drinking the poison and hoping the other person dies. And so the importance is freeing yourself. But don't forget, forgiveness is not trust. You still need to have boundaries. And the most important thing is, don't just throw it all away. Don't throw all caution to the wind. If the person actually harmed you, especially intentionally, then the big key is keep boundaries. That to me is important. So
I love what you just said, Brian. Forgiveness is not trust, the same as trust. I think that you can forgive people and never trust them again. And I think that's okay, right? Sometimes people break that trust. That's a whole nother question. That'd be a great question. But anyways, Adam, 30 seconds to you, my friend.
So I think that forgiveness is a part of the healing journey because we also need to really forgive ourselves. And that it's really important to learn to understand that we don't know what we don't know. And that it's really a part of forgiveness, in my opinion, is also giving ourselves and other people the permission to be a student and that we're still learning. And so that's a key part of forgiveness for me.
Yeah, love it. Will.
I think everything has been said beautifully. All I could do is just repeat exactly what they say, but in a most nicer voice, so to speak. But yeah, absolutely, I do believe for me to have gotten to where I'm at today, I had to forgive. But the reason why I had to forgive is understanding that, especially my parents, my family, they gave me what they had. They could only give me what they have. They could not give me something else that they didn't have. So I had to forgive them, understand that they did the best that they could. So continuing to have them inside of me, again, it's like drinking the poison and expect somebody else to die. It's just not good for me. So I just decided to keep moving on.
Well, I want to say this. Forgiveness is important for your journey, especially when you're the one you need to forgive. Sometimes we beat ourselves up about a performance that we had in the past where we know given another shot we would do better, but you can't go back in time. All you can do is forgive yourself and, try to do a better job next time. But look, if you're holding that anger, now I like to use, I don't know if it's healthy. All right. I'm not, let me just preface all this by saying I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm probably not the person you want to follow for mental health. All right. But here it is from a competitive guy, grew up in sports, right? Sometimes I can take that frustration, that anger, and I can use that as fuel and it can drive me to a better performance, especially if it's I feel slighted or disrespected or whatever. But I don't think my therapist would agree that that's a healthy frame of mind. So I'm not saying that you can't use it in positive ways. I'm saying it's probably not the healthiest of things to do. And anyways, again, I am not an expert on mental health or anything psychological. So there you go. But I'm glad that Ken can forgive himself. He should, because he's an amazing guy. He picks on me sometimes because I talk too much. It is what it is. All right. Next question. Let's see. Oh, there's one up there for me. All right, I'm gonna save that one for a second. All right. What is the best way to prepare for a disaster? I love this question. Will, I think I want you to take the lead on this one, if you don't mind, brother. I'm gonna put this up on I'll put it up on the screen. But the question is, what is the best way to prepare for a disaster?
Now, I'm not going to answer that directly because I will not tell somebody, hey, I want you to be prepared for disaster. It's like you calling it. It's just like you expecting it, right? No,
you're trying to manifest it. No,
yeah, no, I won't do that. I won't do that. However, I do believe that once you're walking into your purpose, whatever, I'm all about finding my purpose. And once you find your purpose, whatever comes your way, that's part of the journey. Now remember, the storm is gonna come. Inevitably is gonna come. But not all storm comes to destroy you. Some storm come to clear a new pathway for you. It all depends how you see it. Me, when I get in the rain, I don't get wet. I feel the rain. So it's all about your perspective. So for me, no, I won't tell somebody to get ready and how to prepare for a disaster. Do we know disaster is going to happen? Absolutely. What's the best way to prepare for a disaster? Is just to walk on your purpose and be aware. Be aware of who you are and be aware of your surrounding. But more importantly, having a tribe like we have in a truth community, having people around you that can support you. I think that's the best way to really prepare for that, so to speak, is to continuously having good people around you that can support you when those moments do happen, so you can be ready for what's next.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a lot of different components to it. So it depends on, are we talking financially, psychologically? I think you just showed how important it is for relationships to have those secure. Does anybody else, 30 seconds each on this if you'd like, Nicole? I think this would
Yeah,
be up your alley.
it's interesting that he talks about the mental aspect of that because that's very important.
Yeah.
Coming from a state that I just not long ago went through my first hurricane, that was very interesting. And so I do like to be prepared in terms of having water, having a generator if you can, having perishables ready, things like that. I had all that. We had flashlights, we had batteries. So I'm going to be physically prepared, but I'm also going to be mentally prepared because, you know, when lights go out and people start roaming the street, you have to have that reserve within you that you just surround yourself with light, with protection, know that you're okay. So I think for me, that would be those two aspects. And I do carry a gun. So for anybody who needs to know that, yeah, I do believe in preparedness.
Yeah, I carry bear
I
spray.
even have a concealed carry.
I carry bear spray all the time as a photographer, and people always ask me why. I'm like, you don't need a permit for bear spray, so I can protect myself and I'm ready to go in case there's any bears downtown LA at night. Right there, you go. Brian, I think you had your hand up next, brother.
Yeah, and that's funny that there could be a bear in LA, but when you think about disaster, it could be something that's simply unexpected. But remember, be it as a house fire, like Nicole mentioned, it could be a hurricane, a tornado. There are a lot of natural disasters. Matter of fact, nobody expected the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, yet that's only a few minutes from where I live. So there are a lot of people locally that are reeling from that and getting all kinds of health diseases, and the wild animals are dying. So how do you prepare for that? Being a former insurance adjuster, one thing I would recommend is make sure you have proper insurance. Make sure you check it over once in a while, because you want to be prepared so that when something like that happens, you're not caught totally unawares and end up leaving your home, having to relocate, for example, or you maybe don't have a home left for whatever reason, and now it's all out of pocket. And that happened to my brother simply because he was uninsured. So that comes from personal experience with my own brother. He lost everything he owned except for like 3 or 4 items that happened to be saved in a closet. Everything else was destroyed. So prepare and think ahead. Try to prepare mentally, as Will said. I think that's important, but just think through what you would do and talk about it as a family or just by yourself if you don't have anyone, but think it through ahead of time.
I love what Hakan is saying here. In case you guys don't know, this is my good buddy Hakan. He's saying that the best way to prepare is faith. I think that's when you're in the middle of that storm, which we've been talking about preparing for it, but when we're in the middle of it, I think there's nothing better than this answer right here. I'm going to defer my 30 seconds to Hakan for sure. All right. There are lots of two-legged animals roaming the streets of Los Angeles. Yes, there are. Although not as many after hours. It's funny. LA, downtown LA has really become like a business place. So after hours at like 10 o'clock, midnight, and those witching hours, if you will, there's not a lot of people on the streets. So there you go. Adam, we haven't heard from you on this yet. I don't know if you have something you want to add.
I think that just for me, it's really about remembering that you're probably going to be triggered into fear and really having an understanding of what fear does to you, I think is really important. Really kind of engaging and being careful with we do have certain instinctual reactions, but if we can sort of monitor them and navigate them, it can really be beneficial for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only other thing that we really haven't touched on, Brian touched on insurance, and Will was talking about developing the relationships, and Nicole was talking about having the things in place, right? So the water and the food and all those things. The other thing that I think, and Hakan talked about faith through it, I think the thing people forget sometimes is to have some cash, not just plastic, not just, Bitcoin or money in the bank or whatever, but have a currency in a safe somewhere that you can get access to get you by while the computers are down. And, there's all things that I could say. I don't have time in 30 seconds, but have some money stockhold somewhere, stored up somewhere that you can get access to, because I'll tell you that can make the difference in if the power's out for like 3 weeks. You have hurricanes can knock out the whole grid. Think Katrina, or think like a earthquake that just happened in Turkey. There was a couple of them now, right? And then so when you're talking about that kind of devastation, having money that you can get access to while the infrastructure is rebooting can make a huge difference. And like all your passports, your IDs, your licenses, all those things, make sure you have a physical copy somewhere, not just a digital wallet, because we don't think about the danger of the network going down, but it does go down sometimes. So there you go. Will, you started this puppy, so we're gonna give you 30 more seconds if you like, brother.
Hey, I will go back to and I like what Ken said in regards to faith.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, faith without works is dead. While we have in faith, let's make sure also we're putting some works to it. And
No,
that's
100%.
most of you have said, being prepared mentally, having certain things. Absolutely. But when all fails, at least we have faith that we can fall back on. But, and with everything that we do, make sure we get understanding and make sure we are wise through everything that we do.
You're sharing Proverbs now, brother. I love it. Hey, think about this, that expression, that old adage, an ounce of an ounce of prevention. Prevention. I can't even say it right. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Y'all knew what I was trying to say. Dyslexia is a lot of fun, but faith, if you aren't afraid to die, you feel much better. No doubt. No, look, preparation, being prepared. I think, there's this joke. I'll tell it real quick. It's like a dad joke, but it's not really. So a guy is out in the water and he falls out of the boat, and some reason the boat goes away, and he prays to God and he says, God, save me. And a boat comes by and he says, nope, God's going to send somebody to save me. The second boat comes by and it says, hey, let's play out of the water. He said, nope, I believe in God. God's going to pull me out of the water. So the boat goes away, and the third boat. And anyways, the guy ends up dying. When he gets to heaven, he says, I think he says to Gabriel, anyway, it's not theoretically sound, but he says to Gabriel, he says, why didn't you save me? And he says, well, you sent you 3 boats, dummy. Anyways, there you go. All right, bad jokes, dad jokes. I got lots of them. I'm going to try and bail myself out here with a question. There's one that's just got my name literally written all over this thing. Copying it, pasting it so you guys can see that it came in. And here we go. Now you guys know I'm not a professional comedian. There it is. All right. If I have a website, look, as soon as I see website in the question, I just think that one's got to be for me, right? If I have a website that's been up for a while and I had a great ranking on Google search, how do I get back on the first page? I seem to have slipped way down the results somehow. Look, this has happened to a lot of people recently. August of 2022, there was a major update to Google's algorithm. In December of 22, they put out another one. And so what used to work isn't working in the same way anymore, and people have had to adjust. This is what I would tell you. There's a couple things here. First and foremost, if you want to get on Google, you really need to know what you want to be on Google for the first page for, because it makes a big difference when you're creating your content. You want to write the answers as best you can to answer the questions, to provide the solutions, to include the keywords that people are putting in. When they go to Google, what do? They type in some form of question, right? A request for help. Google calls that a query. So when you are creating your content, you want to make sure that you're answering those questions in spades, not just putting up a video, not a cute diagram or graphic. And you want to go deep with this, because one of the main changes, they're looking for depth of information on the topic. In 2022, to be on the first page of Google, the first 10 on any topic across the whole internet, the average was 1,447 words on that specific page, not on the whole website, not your whole website combined, the one particular page that it was driving it to. So if you are getting beat, it's likely that you are getting beat by people who have answered the question with more written words, not just the video, not just the graphics, but the written content, because the AI for Google, when you get indexed, it's not quite sophisticated enough yet where it's going into the videos and extrapolating what the video is about and then giving you credit for that. It doesn't do that yet. So the content, to make sure that you're getting seen as Google, as the authority, they came up with this really neat acronym called EAT, it stands for expertise, for authority, for trustworthiness. You need to answer that. You need to satisfy the EAT and answer the questions for Google to put you up on number 1. Now, also, the other thing I'd say is let's look at your competition level. How much competition do you have for that? Because if you have a little bit, it's easier to get on the first place. And if you have a lot, it's going to be harder. So, but in the question, they said they used to be on the front page and now they're not. So probably here, we just need to add some better pillar content that'll help you out. Okay. Where do you find these intelligent people? View the Unite. They found me, Ken. Isn't that wonderful? Actually, we can answer this question. We found each other through an app that we're all on. Let me do something we haven't done yet. We're going to do a little promo here. I need to set this up. Sorry, I didn't do that yet. I need to do one thing here. And this is where it would be nice if I had an assistant, and I don't.
How about while you're doing that, Ira, maybe I'll answer that question that you were on already.
Oh, I got it. Here we go. So Truth Community, guys. Go to Truth Community, but on Truth Community, there's a program that we use. It's an app, actually, and it's called OWL, and you guys can use it through your phones. But all of us here are a part of this chat app called OWL. You can reach out and talk to each of us for, without an appointment. So we'll get to that more in a minute, but that's kind of how it all came together, Kenny. So let's go back to the question now. The question is, and I've answered it from my standpoint, 90 seconds, right? But all of you are willing to speak. Brian is going to go first here. If you had a website, Brian, it's been up for a while and had a great Google ranking, and now it's slipped, what do you do?
And that's really a good question. I would hire Ira. That would be my first solution. But I think that if you have that problem yourself, I'm more than willing to help you figure out where you want to go, what questions you want your website to answer, and we can help dive deeper so that you can write out those answers. But Ira is going to be the one to help you tweak your site, tweak the SEO, and make sure you're always showing up on the Google front page, so to speak, with the proper page to your site. So Ira knows all about the details behind the scenes, but if you just want some business help writing it out, that may be something I can help you with. But back to you, Ira.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody else want to take a stab? Will, Adam, or Nicole?
You know what, Ira, I'm humble enough to know when I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm out.
I got nothing on a lot of things. This just happens to be my wheelhouse. So
Listen, I've got a whole lot of nothing. So that's a lot.
Adam.
I was going to say, I'm a firm believer in knowing what I don't know. So I would just hire Ira or one of his team.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys, you know what you need to put on there if you know what. This is what Brian will tell you. When you're starting a business, look, I spent over 20 years in sales, all right? The very first thing that you need to do is understand what it is that you're good at, the problems that you solve, right? Then you need to understand your audience. Remember earlier with Bob, I was being a little facetious and I said, it isn't what they need, the problem they need, it's what they want, right? So you've got to understand what it is they're searching for, understand the demographics and where they hang out and all those things. But once you have all that, then you just really do what you do. You talk about the solutions to those problems in the way that you can resolve it, because as they read your content and digest your content, then auspiciously, they're going to want to buy stuff from you. And that's where Brian can help you figure out your business process, right? What does that look like? Who's involved in it? But as far as the website content goes, you really want to answer those questions as thoroughly as possible. There's two expressions. There's one that go wide and there's one that's go deep. And really, when you have the spokes of your business, you want to go as deep as you can in each one of those spokes, because that's what Google's going to look at and go, this is the expert. This is the authority. This is somebody that I can trust to send. That's what you're trying to do with the EAT acronym of Google, is get Google to understand that is the case. Because when it is, let me give you a stat that will blow your minds, maybe. 75% of all people who go to Google will never go to page 2 or beyond. So they're only on page 1. They never go to the next page. So if you're not on that first page, guess where you are? You're in obscurity, and that's not where you want. Now, we say, well, what do they do if they don't go to page 2? They either go to one of the solutions on the first page, which is usually 10 results, right? Organic positions, or they'll click on an ad, or they will put in a new query. They'll put in a new search and they'll have Google search again. So you really, if you're not coming up on first page, on page one, organically for the things that you're trying to compete for, that's where you need to work with somebody like me. It doesn't need to be me. It could be anybody, right? As long as they're good at SEO. But work with somebody who knows SEO because it is super important. Why is it so important? Because 81,000 searches per second happen on Google. There is no traffic source in the world anywhere close to Google right now. And I say that right now because ChatGPT is changing the game, but it hasn't changed it yet. We could get into that later if you like. All right, let's go to another question. We got some interesting comments going on too. This is why I love Ken, and this is why I love Cone. These guys are having a conversation in the comments. It is wonderful. I would like to have a talk with you. Yes, we can do that for sure. This guy's a musician. He's a faith healer. He's in Europe. I love this guy. Let's see. Will, thank you, Will, for the connection invite. Yes, if you guys are on the show, send us invitations to connect. Let's do this. The connection invites are flooding in. Wonderful. What do you think about ChatGPT? Oh my gosh, he just set me up. Love it. All right. I wrote an article on Bowman Digital Media. If you guys want to go check it out, I think that ChatGPT, this is artificial intelligence. If you're not familiar with it, I actually had it up just a minute ago and I took it down. But anyways, this is what I think is going to happen. When you go to Google, you type in a question. Right now, what Google does is they don't answer the question. They actually provide you a bunch of places, resources where you could go to extract the information, the answer, from those resources. So SEO is built on that. Have you ever asked Siri a question or Alexa a question instead? What do? They just tell you the answer. Now, sometimes they tell you I can't find anything on the answer. ChatGPT is artificial intelligence. It is not connected to the internet right now. So what they did is they did a big data dive, and they pulled content through 2021. So let's say Truth Community didn't exist in 2021. If you ask ChatGPT about Truth Community, has nothing. Okay. If you asked ChatGPT, how can I improve the SEO on my specific website? It would give you information based on where it was at that time, right? So it's outdated. But eventually, as they continue to revise this thing and they connect it live to the actual Internet of Things, right? It's actually connected. I think that Google has a major problem on its hand because the traffic, remember I said earlier, 81,000 searches per second are happening on Google. That is as of 2022 data. Right? That's from January through December. I believe my hypothesis is that ChatGPT is going to cut into Google's numbers by a lot. In fact, it may become more like 50-50. There are things where having the sources are always going to be an advantage, right? But there are some things you just want the answer for. Like, what does the psychological color of red mean? Right? So if I look at the color red psychologically, what does that mean? Or green or orange? Well, you can go to ChatGPT right now and get the direct answer. You don't have to go try and find it through the websites that it would recommend. Anyways, hopefully you followed all that. I think it was a little over 90 seconds, but if anybody else wants to take a stab at this, I am fascinated by this topic. Look, I'm a nerd. I love this stuff.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I just hope that people are not letting their creativity, are not letting their own smart get in the way by ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, they have no feelings, no emotion, and you should not. Actually, it can help, but you still have to come up with the original thought process, with the original idea, and then finalize the final product through ChatGPT. So, as a matter of fact, if people are not using that properly and they're letting ChatGPT using them, then it may dumb us down more than we already have been dumbed down. So
That's
people
fair.
are not paying you to get information from ChatGPT. They're paying you to get information based on your own value, your own
Yeah.
experience. So people would have to be very careful and not coming up as fraud because you're getting stuff from ChatGPT and
Will,
not from your own creativity.
I love this. I absolutely love this. In fact, it's happening already with Google, right? I mean, it used to be you can Google anything now, right? And so this is making it easier. There are great ways to use it. It's just a tool. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. I just want to clarify, and then we'll get into the others. So we have just a little bit of a misconception here. Bing actually is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft is an investor currently in ChatGPT. Bard is actually the product by Google. And so they are they haven't released it yet. It's still in the lab, if you will, being worked on. But yeah, this is coming whether we like it or not. This is coming. So Brian, did you have your hand up there?
Yeah, so real quick, I think that it's kind of a dangerous thing to use Google or any IA bot or app to try to figure out a perfect relationship, so to speak, whether it's with your spouse or with a business prospect, potential client, etc. So there's nothing that beats a one-on-one conversation, a personal conversation with you may be able to find out from ChatGPT their background and their history and all their whatever else, but it's still not going to tell you how they're feeling right now in the moment. And that's where I think there's nothing that still beats human one-on-one interaction.
Well, just so you guys know where the technology is as of today, right? Just as of today, ChatGPT is not connected to the internet, so it can't do some of the same things that Google could, but it could tell you, like, if you ask, like, hey, what are the odds my partner likes this or that? You know what I mean? It can give you some hypotheticals. But I absolutely agree with what Will is saying and what Brian is saying here. Even when it can and it's tied directly into the internet and now it can do all the research, man, it could be dangerous. So buyer beware for sure. Nicole, what do you think about this? Maybe we can expand it into this conversation where we've kind of gone, because I think this is fascinating too. We're talking about kind of the moral or the ethic of using these tools, which is a different question than what was asked. But
and I agree with Will in terms of don't let it take away your creativity. Be very wary of what you're doing, watch what you're doing. But, if we look back on all the technology that we've just had in a very short period of time, people were like, well, these cell phones, you can't use them or they're going to take over this. And it's just progress. It really is. And I think it's all with your mindset of how you use these things, how you perceive them, and really sometimes who you are inside. Are you a good person that are going to use them for the greater good? Or, are you going to be a little bit evil with them? But I agree with you. They're not going away. It's not going away. So let's.
It's going anywhere but away. All right. So I think that we've covered this pretty well. Adam, there's a question for you. I believe it would be perfect for you. And I know that you're a little bit in a time crunch. So let me just get it up on the screen so everybody can see it. The question is, what is the most important thing in clear communication? Let's get that. This is right up your alley.
Sorry. Okay. Let me just see that comment again.
Yep. So it is, what is the most important thing in clear communication?
So what I actually think is the most important thing in clear communication is don't assume that clear communication can happen. I know that that's kind of contrary to what a lot of people talk about, but I think that we can attempt communication, but in a lot of cases, the challenge that we're dealing with is everyone learns differently. Everyone receives phrases and information in different ways. And, we hope and want other people to be able to understand what we're talking about, but sometimes they just can't. It's just not really possible for them. And so if we can approach communication with, we're going to try the best we can, we're going to allow for an understanding as best we can, I think that would be really, really valuable. When I work with my clients, a lot of times I really get them to recognize how we learn, what motivates us, what drives us, what we find important, are all things that are already built into us. And we can't just magically change our minds and find something different. And so that all impacts our ability to communicate and listen.
Yeah.
I believe in the mind we can connect and grow, and willingness to communicate, willingness to receive is a big part of it. But we just can't guarantee anything.
I'm with Brian right here, man. I am digging this conversation. The questions that have come in tonight are really good. I appreciate people sending them in. Again, if you guys are watching for the first time, we encourage you, because we're getting close to the end here. In fact, Adam's got to go in just a couple minutes. Get in, your questions for next time. If you weren't sure what this is and you're watching for the first time, we have a website, truthcommunity.info. You can go there, and right on the homepage, you can put the question in. We will answer this live on the show next time. But let's open this question up because I love it. And I think all of us can answer this for sure. What is the most important thing in clear communication? Let's do ladies first. Nicole.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with Adam about that. And I'm going to speak for me. And I think the most important thing for clear communication is speaking your truth, no matter if it hurt. I mean, I'm not saying to be mean or hurt someone, but so many times when I was going through my divorce, I held my tongue and didn't speak what was important to me or what hurt me or how I felt about it. And so I have learned, speak my truth. It might not be everyone's, but I get to have it.
No, I love that. Will, how about you, my friend?
Absolutely. The communication can be clear, but I do believe, just like the love language, communication, there's a language as well. So if I'm communicating based on my own understanding, but your communication may be nonverbal, your communication style may be different type of communication. So it's for me to understand how you're going to relate to the conversation that I'm having, because at the end of the day, I am responsible for what I say, but I'm not responsible for your own understanding. So if I'm communicating, that means I want to have a relationship. So therefore, I need to understand your method of understanding so I can relate that clear communication for you to get it. So I am I'm sending something out, but we need to be in the same frequency so you can receive it. I can put everything out, but if you're not able to receive it, my communication can be as clear as water, but we are not in the same frequency. So therefore, you're not understanding anything that I'm saying. So I think that is very clear and important that when we decide to have a communication with someone, make sure that we are the same frequency so they can receive what we are putting out.
Here's a good point, because I think a lot of us would agree honesty is important. And the challenge with it, of course, as Haakon is saying here, is that not everybody else has that same moral compass or, position. So yeah, it happens. Brian.
Yeah, and I think that everybody's nailed it on their answers. The one thing that has helped in my personal, intimate relationship with my spouse is asking clarifying questions so that I can understand what they understood me to say, because obviously I didn't correctly communicate, at least via their love language or the way they're feeling or whatever's going on. I need to understand what they understood, especially if it's quote unquote pertinent or important information. So that's where I think that asking clarifying questions, if I'm, for example, giving directions to my wife on where to pick up the kid, I need to know that she assimilated that information or understood it clearly. She may end up in the wrong town or the wrong place to pick them up, and that's not going to work out well. So depending on what it is, yes, I think that we don't need to worry about the other person, but in many cases, it's also very easy and quick and right to the point to simply say, what did you understand me to say? And they can simply repeat back to you. You said pick up the kid at the school at 3 p.m., for example, whatever it might be. Or even if you're just having a discussion, you're even sharing your feelings. Ask them what they understood you to say. And to me, that's one of the biggest keys to clear communication, is just communicating back and forth, making sure they understood what you meant.
Yeah.
And if not, you can clarify.
All right, we're going a little long here. We are past the hour. I'm going to finish this one up with mine, and then we're going to go back to Adam. Adam, if you can hang in. One thing that I learned in philosophy class was that sometimes the argument isn't even real. It's just that you're using a term in one way, and they are using a term in a completely different way. So the miscommunication sometimes is not in a person's desire to argue or a desire to be dishonest. It's because they understand the word to mean one thing and you understand the word to mean something else. So in philosophy, one of the first things we learned is to clarify the terms. Helps in debate, because a lot of times, again, you can settle the debate just when you go, somebody might say that's good. And other people are like, good? No, it's amazing. It's great. It's wonderful. Like, yeah, that's what I said. It's good. You're like, oh, that's what you mean by good. You're not trying to insult me or say it's mediocre. You mean it's wonderful. Okay. So with that, once you have the terminology, so you guys understand the framing of it, clear communication, I think you have to do a couple things. You have to come at a point where you're not from a point where you're not angry, so that you're clear-headed. I think that makes that frame of mind helps a lot. And if you can come in at a place where you try to be concise, because sometimes I think we go so long with the sentence that the person doesn't understand anymore what we're trying to say. So clear, simple, like break it down like you're talking to a 5-year-old. Not that you're trying to, insult the person's intelligence, but simple, clear communication, I think, is the way. Well, it's in the question, clear communication, simple words, short sentence structures, an open mind, in a non-aggressive body language. I think that all those things will help. Adam, thank you for hanging in. I know you got to run.
So, yeah, no, I do have to run, but I respectfully, I have to really disagree because, like I said, not everybody learns the same way. I think that simple, clear communication works for certain minds, but other minds need enough detail, enough why, or enough what, or enough who. Some people that are visual need you to paint a picture. It really is about understanding how someone receives information and really kind of engaging with it. Sometimes if there's not enough detail, someone can't even hear the words that you're trying to communicate. Yep. So I think that it really just is about identifying, working with professionals like myself, Brian, Nicole, Will, Ira, in different ways to really understand how we individually function. And really communication is such diverse and dynamic individuals engaging with one another and really learning that we all do have such a unique place that we want to think that all words are going to be received exactly the same, but they never actually are.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but I very clearly said that you have to clarify the definition of the word, because you can use blue in one way and I can use blue in another way. And if that's the problem, that could be the problem. But if somebody's closed off, clear communication is not always possible. There are people out there right now who want to apologize to somebody and they can't. Why? Because the person they want to apologize to won't give them the time of day. They burnt that bridge. Like Kenny said it earlier, I'm not going to forgive you. Kenny probably won't even let you talk to him in that case, right? So not clear communication isn't always possible, which wasn't the question. But to be clear communication, I think you have to come from a place where they understand what you're trying to say. If they can't understand you, how can you clearly communicate with them? Anyways, he had to go. We are way over. We're 5 minutes over, but we do have one more question in the pool. So let me ask you, panelists, can you hang on for one more, like 10 more minutes? Are you good?
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. Will, are you good?
We're good.
All right, Brian, this question's for you. I hope you're good. Are you good?
I'm good. Yep.
Okay. I was like, I actually missed.
Yeah, I'm good.
Gotcha. All right. The question. Ooh, this one. Okay. If you have any little kids in the room, you might want to mute this thing or shut it down, because this is more for an adult crowd. But that's okay. They don't always have to be easy questions here. This one's a little bit. Okay. Why doesn't my spouse get turned on by the same things every time? I can do the same thing 2 days in a row, and one day it is awesome, and the next day it gets immediately shut down. I can attest to this, brother. This happens around here sometimes. But anyways, Brian, this is definitely not my specialty. As I said earlier, I am not a psychologist or a relationship coach. So take this one away, brother.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways you could take that. I'm going to assume it's probably a guy asking that, because women are generally the ones who the same thing doesn't work twice. There's really no formula to get the exact same response, even 2 days in a row. So I'm going to assume it's a guy, though they can be reversed. So I'm just going to speak out
you
of
froze.
averages.
Brian, hang on a second. You
Can you still hear me?
froze up there for a second. Yeah, we can now. It just froze up for a second, so you might want to start over.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying you could take that a lot of different ways, but the biggest key is understanding normalities and averages. Most women, there is no formula to get the same hormonal response. They have hormones and a lot of different reactions. They also think outside the box. And I look at a woman's brain more like the internet superhighway, where a man is in a dresser drawer, he has a few boxes and he can think or open one box at a time. They cannot touch, and he can only have one open at a time. And so therefore, he's going to close one box in order to open next. He's going to have the home, the business, life, relationship, church, what individual boxes, where the woman generally will often think of all of them as interconnected. Each one affects the other. And so you might be feeling all excited and, wanting to get with your spouse. And your spouse, especially if it's a woman, is thinking about all the other things she needs to do tomorrow, week, next month, packing for vacation in 6 months. It's all weighing on her mind, and she can't get her mind. And one of the most important differences between a man and a woman's brain, a man is a nothing box where we can actually think about nothing, breathing, and stay alive. A woman does not have that option. She does not have a nothing box. And my wife has explained over and over, it's not fair because she can try to think about nothing and there's still 1,000 tabs open. And it's like, that's ridiculous. You need to just close all the tabs and for a minute. There is a big difference. And if you just want to get a good laugh, go to YouTube. A friend of mine does men's brains, women's brains. It's one of the funniest videos, but he explains the difference of boxes versus internet superhighway. So yeah, there's a big difference there. And I'm going to assume it was a man asking, about women, but yeah, they're all different. Every woman is different. Every day is different. Every morning and evening can be different. The way they feel in the morning can totally change in the evening. So if you catch them in the right mood, you might want to take advantage of it and have some fun while you're there.
The question is phrased in a way that implies it's a man because of the simplicity of, hey, I did the same thing twice and I'm getting different results. I agree. I agree with that supposition. Nicole, I'm almost scared to ask.
You know what? There's no doubt in my mind that's a man because all we're talking about is twice. First of all, I have to agree with Brian. When you're in this kind of mom mode and you're working and you've got a day full of, like 96,000 things you've got to think of for that day. And then it carries over of, oh, shoot, what do I have to do tomorrow? So at 10 o'clock at night, when your spouse is going to give you that second one, you're like, okay, I get it. But you know what? This will be a complimentary visit tonight. And, so there's, from the woman's point of view, Brian says we got tabs open every single day. And sometimes we just don't know how to shut them down.
I'm thankful for those complimentary passes. Let me tell you, and I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Will, 30 seconds. How would you like to step on this landmine, brother?
Yeah, I don't think I'm credible for this. Just for the mere fact that I've been married twice and I did not get the memo.
Okay.
It's coming to me a day late and $1 short, but I do have hope and I have faith that I have arrived at an age where I finally think that I get it. So
Will submitted this question just so y'all know. No, I'm just kidding.
Why did you have to put it out there like that?
I'm totally
trying
kidding,
to stay anonymous.
It clearly doesn't say Will.
Anonymous.
I want to say this. I get frustrated by this line of thinking, right? I mean, I think men, those drawers, we have the, hey, honey, it's romance time drawer open. I just took you on a date. I just did the dishes. I just, didn't you see me do that nice thing? My wife has helped me with this in a little bit. And she goes, honey, I'm like a crock pot. You're like a microwave, right? I just put the coffee in. I've hit the minute and 30 seconds. In a minute and 30 seconds, I expect the coffee to be ready. She's a crock pot. I got to turn that sucker on, and I got to pay attention to it throughout the day. But I love what you said, Brian, about all the open tabs. And this actually might help the person a little bit more it isn't that women, for the most part, are experiencing life with a singular focus. Like, it's everything in combination. So the difference between you did the same thing today that was rejected, but yesterday it was, received well. It was about the other things that happened to be going on in that day too, right? Like, if my kids are picking and poking at my wife all throughout the day, mom, 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 mom. Now I come to her at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm like, hey, baby. And she's like, don't touch me. You know what I mean? I've been poked and prodded all dang day. It had nothing to do with me. And so as a man, it can be hard to take that and accept it and not be offended or, like, oh my God, what's her problem? You know what I mean? Like, but it's just the way that we experience and process things is different. So I don't know if I helped or made it worse, but there you go. Brian, save me, bail me out here.
No, you're absolutely correct. And we just have to remember, women are super talented multitaskers. Men are not. And so that's the easiest way to keep in mind. And that a huge trick to like to start way ahead of time. Start 4 or 5 hours before you want to connect romantically. Allow time for them to enjoy it and let them know, I don't have any expectations of anything tonight. And
I didn't want to say this, but I think this also could be a part of it too, right? Where is she in that?
It does. Hormones matter, but think about how nice it is for the woman if you do the dishes, you vacuum the floor, and you clean the table after dinner, whatever it is, little things that speak volumes. That shows her that you care. You're helping carry the load. You understand she also had a rough day, and if you had 2 kids hanging from your testicles, you probably wouldn't be super interested either. So, you just have to understand that they are simply looking for a way to have a hand around the house, and then they can relax. Send them up to, take a bubble bath while you do the dishes, while you put the kids to bed, while you read them their bedtime stories. Don't just your favorite, ball game or whatever else and expect them to do all the work. Now it's going to take them another 2 or 3 hours to veg. And by that time you're dead tired, you go to bed and sleep and they're done. So just remember, it's togetherness and it's an us factor.
We haven't got much into the Bible in this episode for whatever reason, just is what it is. But, we're supposed to, our command as spouses, from the Bible in Ephesians, right? So if you're interested in this, I can send you, the chapters. It's in Ephesians 6, if you're curious, right? But love your husband. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. How did he love the church? Well, first of all, he served it for 3 years, day and night, nonstop. And then ultimately, he sacrificed everything, the ultimate sacrifice for the church. That's what Christ did. So if we're going to be husbands who want to love our wives in a biblical way, it isn't, about, everybody gets crazy about, what the woman is supposed to do. But what about what the man's supposed to do? It's much easier for the woman to do her part when the man's doing his part, and that's the harmony. I'll leave it at that. That's how I stay married. Yeah. Not that I'm perfect at it, but I try to serve my wife in my life.
One last point on that, from a biblical perspective, Ira, that's a great point, because main thing, I'm the head of the home. Yes, you are, but you're following Christ's example from the Bible. He was the head dictator, the head servant, to model that and follow his example.
Why did he wash the feet?
It will be easy to submit to letting you serve.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Hopefully out there in the audience, you guys have enjoyed it too. Now,
it is.
Truth Community is way more than just Will and Nicole and Adam and Brian and least of all me. There's a lot more people involved. Go to the website. It's on the banner. It's been on the banner for a while there, scrolling at the bottom, truthcommunity.info. Go there. You can not only ask questions, but you can learn more about the Truth Community. You can also learn more about who the leaders are. And if you're watching this going, hey, I'm a leader too, great. Let me encourage you to put in an application to join us, the leadership team. We would love to have you, invite you. Now, you can join the Truth Community without being a leader. We encourage that. We have a Facebook page. We'd love to have you in there. But if you want to be one of the panelists on the show, that's how you can do it. And Brian referenced this earlier, as I showed with the owl. If you want to talk to Will or any of the panelists, you can join Owl, this app. We all have Owl profiles, so you can get on here. In fact, we all have codes. Go to the truthcommunity.info truthcommunity.info and figure out who you want to use, but use any of our codes. You'll get $10 of credit, and you can talk to any of us. I don't believe any of us are charging more than $10, right, for 10 minutes. So you can talk to any of us for free for 10 minutes if you use our promo codes, and they're there on our Truth Community here. I'll just show you real quick. So Truth Community, and then go to leaders, and then here are the leaders and what they are there for. So like if you want to come down to the bottom, you can see me on website SEO. You can come here, and then you can click on out, and that'll take you to, or we've got our codes just listed right here. Okay. So anyways, that's how you would do it. All right. We hope to see you again. Brian, when are we live next? When's our next show?
It's going to be about 2 weeks. We should be live again.
Do we have a date and time picked yet?
We haven't solidified it, but I'm assuming it'll probably be the same time, same channel. I would assume probably in about 2 weeks on a Tuesday night, if that works for you guys.
Yeah. Okay. So write it down, guys. Tuesday, 2 weeks from now.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. I'm not looking at a calendar at the moment. But Tuesday in 2 weeks, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern or time. We've got people both in the United States and outside the United States watching the show. So wherever you're from.
7th.
Yeah. Okay. March 7th. That's my birthday. Ooh.
Ooh, we can have a party.
Yeah, I'm kind of beyond that, but I have a son that was born on my birthday, Ira Jr. We celebrate him for sure. But anyways, we can do it. All right, so we will see you all March 7th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining, everybody. Have an amazing, amazing conclusion to your evening. Thanks for joining us.